Emily, and welcome to Emwigsters Bookshelf. This is Ink and Inspiration, a series where I chat to authors about their books, their creative journeys, and stories that behind the stories. If you love books and the people who write them, you're in the right place. Let's jump in and tell us who you are and a little bit about your book.
Thanks so much. My name's Heather C. Morris, not to be confused with the other amazing Heather Morris, who writes historical fiction for adults. But I love writing books for kids. So my first picture book, Trunk Goes Thunk, A Woodland Tale of Opposites, came out in 2024. And Emily has generously invited me to be on to talk about my second book that comes out in 2026. It's called Backyard Stew.
What inspired Backyard Stew?
Yes, it was fun to remember all of that because I wrote this manuscript about 3 years ago. I was on a walk with my dog. She's a rescue, like border collie mix. And in my neighborhood, I live in the eastern United States, so we have quite a few different kinds of trees and lots of different wildlife, but also plants and things like that. So, in my neighborhood, which is in a suburban part of a city, as I was walking her, I came across a carpet of ginkgo leaves, just beautiful golden ginkgo leaves that had fallen. And I thought to myself, wait, I'm pretty sure they make tea out of ginkgo leaves. That's interesting. I wonder, and it just got me thinking about all of these different kinds of plants that we can eat, but most of the time we don't. And then I started thinking about my own backyard. Okay, we have wild onions in our backyard and we have wild strawberries. Neither of these things taste very good. But that was the original spark. But nothing really took off until I started thinking about two other things, interactive elements. So there's a picture book that is beautiful called Tap the Magic Tree by Christy Matheson. And it has so many wonderful interactive elements for kids. As they read along, they tap and things change in the next spread. And so when I started adding those kinds of elements into each spread, and then added a secret ingredient near the end, that's when it really all came together.
It's really amazing how you things you see in like real life and then books as other books as well. It's like actually I could integrate and this is really good for an idea as well. So,
Yes, exactly.
you have touched on it in our previous interview, but if people haven't read it, what drew you to writing in the first place?
Yes, I am one of those people who always enjoyed writing. As a kid, my grandparents, yes, that's who it was. They had a typewriter. It was wonderful. So I was the weird 6-year-old who would go to my grandparents' office and type on their typewriter and just make up stories. I loved doing that. But I never really knew what to do with it. And I also loved science. I still do love science. And so that's what I pursued professionally for many years. But at the same time, I was still writing fiction stories, still writing some nonfiction for work. And finally, about 6 or 7 years ago, my husband really encouraged me to dive in and pursue it and learn what I could about publishing.
How did the change go from writing nonfiction with work to then writing fiction? Did you notice much of your process sort of changing with the switch?
Very much. Yes. It was very much a relearning process. For the first 3 years, at least, I considered it almost like going back to college.
Yeah.
I took a lot of online writing classes. That was really during the height of COVID, and so many things moved online, which, that was a hard time. But all the online offerings were wonderful because then I could access just these really great seminars and lectures by people in the field and the industry. And so I did that for a few years. But yes, there was just a lot of, from nonfiction, I would research a lot. That stayed the same. But then
Yeah.
I'd often outline, and they taught us to write in the passive voice. It was horrible, but they did.
I would
I had
hate
to
writing
unlearn all of that.
I prefer the
Yeah.
active voice. It's much more fun.
Oh, right. It really is. So That was, yes, I'd say those were the major differences. But the research actually was very helpful. I've done a lot of laboratory research, but then also just like research and writing research papers. And all of that proved to be very useful and still does whenever I'm writing, even fiction. There's so much to learn when you're writing fiction.
I don't think people realize how like you still need to research when you're writing fiction, especially if it's with plants or about buildings and everything. It's like everything still needs to make sense, even if it's made up.
Right. Right. I was just talking to someone because I've been working on some middle grade novels this year, not to get too far afield, but and I'm loving it. That's been really fun to do some more long form work. But someone I was explaining what I was doing and talking about this delicate dance of believability versus fiction, right? You know, making something up entirely, but it still needs to be believable. And so you have to have some foundations in what the real world actually is.
Although it's for kids and middle grade
Oh,
students,
yeah.
like
Unless
they're
it's a
the
fantasy
toughest.
world, and then
They're
you
the
can just make
toughest.
it all up,
They're the toughest
which is
critics.
great.
They're toughest critics as well, though. You might think they're easy, but nope. They're very picky.
No, it's very true. It's very true. And at the very beginning, obviously my daughter walked in. She's middle grade age, and she is, yes, she's very tough. She will tell it like it is. They all do. They will be very honest. No,
But
I do not like that. That was terrible.
I don't know why this is in the book. Do not believe it. That wouldn't
Right,
happen. Like
right.
bit of a fantasy fiction, like it's made up a little bit too. Like I get it, but use your
Yes,
imagination a little bit, please.
right. Exactly.
How did you choose which st character to focus the story around, even though it's a picture book?
Right. So in this case, I wanted, because of those interactive elements that I was excited about introducing, I actually wanted to kind of break the fourth wall and address the reader. But in order to, so it's written in second person, it's written directed toward you, but I needed a character as well in the book. And so it was fun. I didn't give many illustrator notes, which is something you can do in picture books, is you can kind of give some ideas of what you're thinking as the author. But I didn't really. And so it was fun to see what the illustrator came up with as far as the main character that the child reader is going to follow through.
I guess that would be an interesting difference with the interactions with the illustrator as well, because a lot of authors do give them really detailed notes as well. It's like, this is what I'm imagining. I guess the illustrator would have loved having a bit more of a freedom for it for this book.
Right. It again, learning so much, going back to what I learned, transitioning from science writing to writing picture books, it was really learning about picture books as an art form too. And just like what I'm talking about with art notes, when to use them, when not to, and how to leave room in the text for an illustrator to interpret something or to make it even more grand. That was something that was just so much fun to see with Trunk Goes Thunk. Whenever I wrote the text, it's less than 200 words. And so there was so much space for the illustrators to imagine all kinds of things. So whenever I got the book, it was like a whole new thing. I was surprised. It was really great.
It's like a little gift, like a present. It's like,
It
what
is.
they how they do it. Can't wait to
It
see.
is. Well, and as a hint, like I've gotten to see some early sketch work for Backyard Stew, and it's gonna be the same thing. It was surprising and fun there too.
That's really good. You,
Yeah, I'm so happy.
definitely a lot of trust that needs to happen between you and an illustrator as well.
Yes, yes. And the way the process works is very odd. For those who aren't familiar with it, I, as an author, I do not draw. That's the first question people ask me. I say, "Oh no, no, you do not want me illustrating anything." So I just write the text, and then my agent actually sends it out to various publishers, and then we sign a deal with a particular publisher and they buy the rights to the manuscript. Well, then that publisher is who chooses the illustrator. So I'm fortunate in that working with a smaller publisher, I have a lot more input about the
Mm.
style that I was thinking of when I wrote the text and some of the ideas that I have. Some of the big houses do it too, but some of them don't at all. You know, it's all up to the editor as to who illustrates. And so that can be that feels a little more risky, but I've loved being with my publisher is Gnome Road Publishing, and they've done a phenomenal job.
It's always good to have like a little bit of that. I do want a little bit of input with my precious precious text.
Yes, yes. And it's delightful to know that they are listening to what my inspiration was and some of the things that I was thinking because you do when you write, you visualize things, you think of something or someone. And so it's nice to have some input with that.
Do you find sticking to like the word count for a picture book hard, or is it sort of something that you liked more than having to have like a larger word count from your nonfiction, or even now the mid like if you were to do middle grade as well?
Right. I think I'm strange because I tend to write shorter picture book manuscripts. And that's not always intentional. I think it may come from I do like poetry a lot, not necessarily rhyming poetry or sonnets. I love free verse and some of the more, I guess, modern forms. But I think I try to incorporate a lot of those kinds of elements too, personification and alliteration and a lot of the poetic devices. And so they tend to keep the word count a little shorter. So to answer your question, it hasn't really been too hard for me to kind of stick to that lower word count. And then, but then whenever I transition to a middle grade novel, those tend to be on the shorter side too. So we'll
Well,
see.
mind you, a lot of the like, because I'm a librarian and everything, I do have like kids who only want to read books that are less than 200 pages, and so they might find a book that they're interested in, but they don't want to read it because it's more than 200 pages. I'm like, it's just like a couple more. You can do it, and they're like, no, too long. So I'm like, okay, I can't. I'm just gonna pick my battle with you. That's fine. You might like you
Well,
miss.
as an aside, as a librarian, I have to know, I have to ask, do you feel like, so thinking back to the classic middle grade writers and books, you know, like Roald Dahl and Sarah McLachlan and so many others, but Catherine Patterson, you know, some of these, I feel like they were all under 200 pages. Is that about right? E.B. White?
They were definitely under 200 pages, but most of the kids won't read, aren't interested in them because, especially here in Australia, part of the English curriculum, you look at Roald Dahl anyway. So all the kids don't want to read for pleasure with Roald Dahl because they've done it in
Right,
classes,
right.
studied him. So when they come to the library, they want something similar, but the small word count, like page count, and some of the books that they would be interested in. Some particular kids, they don't want to read a lot of books that are longer than
Oh,
200.
and I'm nodding because I've found the same thing in my children's school. I love volunteering up there and reading and helping shelf books in their library. And because I am who I am, I always ask the kids, okay, what books are you checking out? Which ones do you like to read? And so I've noticed just in that one school the same kind of trend.
I I just don't think they have the it's going to be the attention span because they all prefer to be on computers and technology. So me trying to get them to read actual books is like going to be a really hard battle. I will get there, but it's more like they're wanting to read also graphic novels now because it has the pictures. It's less
Oh, yes.
as well. So that's just how it's all shifting to with them at the moment, particularly in the area that I work. as well.
Yes. And I know people tend to have strong opinions one way or another on graphic novels. I personally really like them, but
Like
that's fine.
it's like they're reading, they're still enjoying a book and a story, like they're using their imagination, they're putting themselves in the book. I don't see anything wrong. If you don't
Yes.
agree, that's not your own opinion, but if you
Right.
want them
Right.
to be reading, th- give them what
Oh, I
they're
yes.
interested in, realistically.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Well, yes. Okay. So I maybe got a little afield, but I just love talking books in general,
So,
especially with librarians. You guys are amazing.
did you have a favorite moment in your book to write when you're exploring?
Yes. Okay. So this book features, as we've talked about, all of these different kinds of, they are edible, although we do not promote eating anything in this book, but they are technically all things that you could eat in a backyard. But there are two spreads actually that were really fun to write. One is about a dandelion. So the idea, your interactive element is that you actually blow and turn the page. And then there's this beautiful spread of, well, that's what I was envisioning when I wrote it, this beautiful spread of dandelion seeds blowing. And then the second one was honeysuckle. So I love honeysuckle. It's my favorite scent. I grew up going to my grandparents' farm about an hour away, and they just had a lot of land and a lot of wild everything. And there was honeysuckle everywhere in the spring. And so my grandfather taught me how to pull off the tip and just like lick the little drop of nectar or whatever's inside. And so there's that kind of pulling
Oh, that's really cool.
tip, in the interactive elements. So those were fun to write.
They all like I love books with interactive elements. So it's like, yep, you're actually going to not just sit and listen, you're actually going to do something. You're actually
Correct.
participating.
Yes.
You need to be listening and following along.
Yes. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Tapping. I'm big too on like trying to sneak in some science and math concepts too. So it's not overt, but there's very easy ways to like there's one spread again where you tap at the top of every wild strawberry. Well, let's count. We're going to tap and count at the same time. And then the whole idea is that you're collecting all of these amazing ingredients to make your very own backyard stew. Well, then with your older students, if you can get them to read a picture book, which picture books are great, but you can do ratios. I mean, it's just so great. You could like talk about how many drops of honeysuckle you're going to add versus how many strawberries, and then do the fraction or the ratio there.
Always, I love always finding like different ways you can use picture books in lessons as well. So it's perfect.
Yeah.
Did you have any books or authors that inspired you to become a writer?
Yeah. Oh, yes, definitely. I love to read. My kids would tell you I always have a stack of books on my nightstand, but I think the ones that I return to over and over again are, I mean, such a variety. Everything from Lord of the Rings to Little Women to Anne of Green Gables to, oh, Charlotte's Web. Oh my goodness. Like every time I read that book, but so many of those. But then reading some picture books recently, especially Sophie Blackall's books like Hello Lighthouse. Eliza Wheeler wrote this beautiful book called Home in the Woods.
Mm.
And so I love her thing. Lauren Wolk is a modern writer. She wrote Wolf Hollow and Candle Island. Anyway, I love her style. And she writes historical fiction mostly, which I haven't done. I don't know if I'm brave enough to do that.
I don't think I could.
That's a lot.
I don't think I could do
Yeah,
historical because you're going to have some people who know everything
always.
about the period. I don't think I could do it.
Right, right.
You get told the fibers in the dress or something that's wrong. You
Yes,
find it.
right. Exactly. Exactly. Even though I love it, I love that. Well, I don't think I've really met a genre that I don't like, to
Yeah.
be honest. But I do enjoy reading historical fiction too.
I'm just not writing it. That means
Yeah, I know. Yes. I mean, maybe I should challenge myself though, Emily. I mean, that they always say lean into those things where you don't feel comfortable. That would definitely be the case.
yeah. Long you have so much research, like multiple tabs and everything.
Right, right. I mean, that is just incredibly daunting. And I don't really know why, because again, from the science side, I'm used to doing a lot of research, a lot. But there's something about historical research that it just is. It's can be daunting, making sure you find good primary sources and all of that.
And I think there's so many rabbit holes you could definitely keep
Yes.
constantly falling through that you may not actually get to writing the
Right?
from the research because it's too fascinating.
No, you're exactly right. Because the little bit that I have done for, just in the course of research for these novels that I've been writing, it's this fascinating, wonderful rabbit hole when you find something that, you're just looking at for this one particular book, but then it takes you all of these other places. And then before you know it, 6 hours has gone by.
Best thing, but not so much helpful to
Right.
doing it too
No.
often. What advice would you give to a writer working on their first book, and if you were given any advice?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I would definitely say to write, like just do it. I feel like for so long, even while I was pursuing science professionally, doing all of that, I never made the time to write, even though I wanted to. I could feel that deep down. And so for those writers out there, you know who you are, who really want to do it, please just give yourself space to do it. And I think Kate DiCamillo is wonderful. I watched a bunch of her videos that you can easily access online, but during the pandemic, she actually did a little series where she challenged people to sit down and actually start writing. And she just made it so accessible by saying, just write 2 pages a day. You can do that. And so that's really what challenged me to start. I was writing a little before then, but that was really what I needed to hear was just sit down and do it. And it doesn't have to be wonderful. It can be very messy. It doesn't even have to be the same thing every day. You can try different projects, but just do it. Just write. And I can't emphasize that enough because there was no way that I learned how to be a writer. I learned what my writing voice sounds like. I learned how to be comfortable with that. And you won't know until you just sit there and do it over and over and over again and try lots of different things.
I guess finding time to write and then also like reading as well to get different
Oh,
ideas as well. Like
you
when
can't be a writer without reading. It's
I pop
impossible.
into classes because I sometimes cover other teachers if they're away and everything, and just popping into like when they're doing writing and everything. I love it because I'll happily come up with a million of stories based on a picture or whatever. And the kids will come up and give me their writing, and I'm like, your prompt was about a monster. Where's your monster? I don't know. I'm like, go back and try and work out where a monster comes from. They look at me blankly like, is it a giant shark? Because they were on a lake or on the ocean. I'm like, is there a shark? Is it
Right,
a giant squid?
right,
What could be there? And they're looking at me blankly, and because I was just throwing things out at them, and I'm like, come up with something. And they're like, somehow they've been injured. What happened? Nothing has happened to them to make them injured. Missing spots. I'm like, yeah, go back and write it for me so I can find out what's wrong. What's happened? Let me know.
right.
Okay.
No, but it's so true. There are things that you don't even know that you're learning as you're reading, just like what you're describing. The way that a plot is structured and how sequential everything must be.
Yeah.
If something, yeah, like if someone's injured, for instance, well, they had to get injured somehow, right? And
How
so,
did it happen? Like, let me know. I can make
right.
up something for it, but I would like you to tell me what you think has happened. Write it on the page for me. Okay, I guess I can go back and do it. Wanted just to
Right.
it. Don't like writing because I don't read a lot. I'm like, oh well, your teacher's like, this is what you're doing. I can encourage you. I'll give you plenty of ideas. Pick one.
It is so interesting because in the last year, I've been able to go and do a few author visits. And so, along with the picture book, Trunk Goes Thunk, and then Backyard Stew that's coming out, I also have a middle grade short story in the Haunted States of America anthology. And so, I wrote the story from the state of Alabama. And so I love talking to middle grade, I guess really grades four, well, here in the States, so it'd be grades 4 through 8, and just about writing and creative writing, especially writing ghost stories, because that really gets kids interested. I mean, who doesn't love a good ghost story? And so we kind of make it a community event where they're throwing out ideas for setting and character and hook and these first few things, but we really just focus on the beginning.
Hmm.
So then I've also done some like creative writing, more intensives with the same age group, and they lose interest fast. They're like, okay, the beginning was great. We loved the beginning stuff, but we have to write a whole story. I don't know.
I don't think that
I
happens.
think I'm
I don't want to do that.
right.
I want the quick,
Yeah.
I want the good stuff quickly.
Right, right. So everybody's with me for the first few sentences, and then it's like, well, and then it's really interesting because you'll see I'm sure you've seen this too. You start to see the kids who are really into it and
Yeah,
they're getting their character all worked out and their setting, and then they're starting to write and paragraphs are coming, and then you've got other kids who are totally checked out.
yeah. You can
And
see
that's fine.
you can see how what they're pulling from as well. Like, yeah, okay.
Hmm.
This we might need to shift around what we're going to be doing things focusing on now. But thank you for giving me the start point. Thank you.
Right, right.
Do you have a writing snack or drink that's your favorite?
Ooh, good question. Oh, no one's asked me that. That's so funny. Oh, yes, yes. I mean, this is going to sound entirely American, but yes, I have to have my coffee. So,
Yeah.
because I usually do write in the morning, I've found that if I don't do it, then it won't get done. If I don't do it right away, once I have 3 children, my husband and I do, and if once I get them off to school, that's what I do. I sit down and I write with my coffee and my cat. He's not my snack though. But then,
It's
and
the
then
emotional
we're
support.
set. Yes.
You need to start the day with coffee though. Cannot go wrong with the coffee. Well, same here in Australia. Like it's coffee. Like mostly everyone will drink coffee.
Yes. Yes. As a
Or
total aside, so I studied in London for a semester in college. It was fantastic and actually got to hang out with a lot of Canadians and Australians who were there as well. And so some of my buddies from Australia taught me the Tin Tam Slam, which
yeah,
is just so much fun. I don't know if you guys still do that, but
yeah, we still
we had
do
a
it.
great time.
It's a lot of
Okay.
fun. But everyone needs to try it when they come
Yes.
here or they're with an
I'm
Australian.
not sure if in my area of the States if I can get Tim Tams, but
No, I
I
don't
need to
think
look.
when I was over there, I don't think I saw any Tim Tams there,
I'm
unfortunately.
very distressed because they're delicious. I
They
like
are
them.
really good. I've got two more questions. My second
Oh
last one
yeah,
is
great.
what do you listen to music when you write? And if you do, what's the genre of music?
Yes, I sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. And always it's instrumental. For some reason, I can't have anything with the words playing while I'm trying to write, or else those words end up in what I'm writing, and that might not always be the best thing. So that's what I found. But I do have a playlist on Spotify that I've curated with some of my favorite soundtracks or just some classical music. It's mostly soundtracks, though.
I would have to listen to instrumentals if I was, because I would just either write the lyrics in the text or I'll just sing along. No writing will
I
be.
I'm I know. I think some writers can do it. I've talked to other people who are able to just wherever, whatever, and at a coffee shop or someplace with conversation, I'm fine. But there's something about the music and the words with the music that just seep into my brain, I guess, and then they start to come out on the page.
I could do background noise, but any music, I'm just singing along.
Yeah.
And my final question is, who has been the biggest supporter of your writing?
Oh, man, you've got great questions. These are so good. I would say I feel like I've been very blessed. I've had a lot of really great support. But my number one would be my husband for sure. He was the one he's an engineer. And as I mentioned, I did science for a long time and still say I'm a scientist. But so that's how we met and what we did together for a long time, kind of leaning into the science side of things. But he was the one in 2018 for sure who was like, you need to, you've been writing the whole time I've known you, and you need to do something with that. How about we find a conference for you to go to or something? And I'll never forget that. And I'll always give him credit for that. And even now, I don't have him read my stuff very much unless I know it's really good. And and then I wait for his opinion because he does not read children's literature. Like not he read picture books to our children, but they're grown now and he doesn't read very much of them, not like me. And so it's like having a set of fresh eyes on a project, which is nice.
You need this closer support, and always good to have a fresh set of eyes because everything will look good for yourself and you're reading over your work too.
Yes, I do have to give a shout out too, though. Honestly, one of my best friends, we lived in separate cities for a long time, but in the last few years we've come back to the same town, and she and I used to write stories together. And so she wants to nothing to do with the publishing industry, but she reads voraciously and she's still one of my primary beta readers. Like if I think something's good enough to send to her, it's a big deal. And she'll give me really good feedback on it.
You need that though. You need the honest and true feedback for everything.
Yes. Yes. She asks really hard questions about some things. I'm like, ooh, yeah. And she finds all of the logical inconsistencies. I mean, it's great.
You need
Thank you.
you saved me some time. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Very much so. I'm very grateful.